Hello everyone, and welcome to the ASMR Review Show. Happy 2026. As we all know, the best way to look forward to the new year is to look back to the previous year, 2025. And of course, it's the time of the year where we do our top movies of the year lists. Now, of course, I have not seen every movie that came out because I'm just a normie. I don't get special invites to screenings. I just have to go see movies when I can. So there's a lot that I didn't get around to seeing. But I have a solution to that. If you're asking, what's your opinion on such and such movie? Well, you don't even need to tell me that I'm clickbaiting you. We're going to do more than a top 10. We're going to do every movie I watched in 2025. There's actually 25 of them, ironically. But what I did clickbait you on, of course, is before we get into the top 25 new movies of 2025, I want to talk about the old movies that were new to me that I saw in 2025, because there's a lot of good stuff, and I think it's worth it to talk about those for a bit. And of course, we gotta celebrate our holidays with nice, good chocolate porter indeed. Oh yeah, it's always been a favorite of mine. Haven't had it in quite a long time. Someone out there knows what I like. So, first off, two movies that are technically new but not new to me. I couldn't put them higher on the list. That didn't seem fair, but I've got to shout out them. One is Grindhouse, and the other is Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. So I technically had not seen Grindhouse, the double feature of Planet Terror and Death Proof, start to finish the whole way through, which I finally did, and I loved it. Such a fun, quick 3 hours. These guys really understood the assignment when it came to making such a fun feature, and I just had such a wonderful time finally watching this one beginning to end, so I love it. But again, I had technically seen like the last quarter of Planet Terror and all of Death Proof, so I don't really think it's a new watch per se. I just finally saw all of it. So we've got to give that one a shout out, and then ironically another Tarantino one was Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, which of course got a wide release in theaters finally, so of course I was all about that. But again, that is two halves of a movie like that I've seen together. I've seen both Kill Bills, so it's not like there was much new other than an extra animated segment and a wonderfully, hilariously garbage Fortnite edition at the end of the credits. So I love both of those, of course, but again, we can't really put them that much higher. You know, that just doesn't seem right per se. So we're giving those two a shout out. Now on to the real, totally new movies for me. 23 was They Live, the John Carpenter movie. Surprisingly, I had not seen this one yet, but it was pretty great. Everyone's been hyping it up as one of John Carpenter's bests, and I do really like it. Just perhaps felt like the third act was a little quick and rushed and to the point, but it's got a fun concept and a fun style, so I like that one a lot. Number 22 was First Blood, the first Rambo movie. Of course, I myself am I'm a BC native, so probably should have seen this movie by now because it was filmed in BC, specifically the town of Hope. And it's so weird to me to think of Hope being like a tourist town that people would go and visit. Is that what I'm like when I go down to Snoqualmie and North Bend to visit the Twin Peaks locations, perhaps? I don't know, but in either case, I finally watched First Blood, and that's a pretty good one. It is really fun to see the original concept for a Rambo movie, before it became more what it was known for. So I love that one a lot too. And then 21 was Ford v Ferrari, one that I kind of intentionally ignored back when it was in its award season when it came out, because it just seemed a little, this is a biopic by the numbers, But there's another car movie that came out this year. I'm sure you all can guess what it is. We'll talk about that one later. And so I finally watched this one, and yeah, this one was actually pretty damn solid. Very well shot and well acted. I think it definitely deserved a few awards. It reminded me of how absolutely stacked of a year 2019 was for good movies, and yeah, that's a pretty good one as well. 20, again, a movie you might be surprised I've never seen all the way through, was The Wizard of Oz. I think I've actually watched Dark Side of the Rainbow more than I've seen Wizard of Oz. Syncing it up with Dark Side of the Moon. But after having to start off my year watching Wicked, I needed to cleanse my palate for a good movie, so I watched original Wizard of Oz, and of course it's a classic. It's awesome. It's good fun times. Wouldn't put it as one of my personal favorites, but I like it a lot. And then number 19 was the Alfred Hitchcock movie Rope, which I had not seen, but I'd heard a lot about. Of course, it was, famously designed to look like it's one take, and it's a quite suspenseful movie and very well shot and set up. I think one of the things that impressed me the most was that the backdrop was not just like a matte painting. It was actually like it had many layers to it. If you looked really carefully, you could literally see the cast getting asbestos poisoning from the fake clouds, and I love how the background changed over the course of the movie. I'm always a big sucker for movies that have a good progression of the time of day. Like you can slowly see like daylight fading and night coming in, or slowly see the night fading away and the dawn rising. I'm a big sucker for that in movies, so that one was pretty good indeed. 18 was Return to Oz. Ironically, we talked about Wizard of Oz. Well, I also had never seen Return to Oz, and I ranked it slightly higher than Wizard of Oz just for how darn weird and creepy it is. I'd always known from the start that this was like not really a kids movie because it was dark 80s fantasy, and yeah, they were right. There was some real weird stuff in there and very creepy character designs. I'm sure it's one where if I had watched it when I was younger, it would have been like too scary for me, but as an adult I can appreciate it for being just downright strange. The 80s really were something else, weren't they? Number 17 was Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise, Cameron Crowe movie. Just again, one I'd never gotten around to, but I really loved it. Of course, people know so many iconic lines from it, but it was also just a very well done drama, and that darn kid is just so adorable, but also I figured I would like it because it's Cameron Crowe, and he did Vanilla Sky and Almost Famous, and those are two of my favorite movies, so yeah, that's another banger indeed. 1996 was a pretty stacked year for movies too. 16 was Baraka from 1992. This is, of course, is it Rob Frick, who was a cinematographer for the Qatsi trilogy, like Koyaanis Qatsi, and then he also did Samsara and Chronos. So I've seen Samsara, of course, love that one, but I'd never seen Baraka, and yeah, it's a very similar style of a film. I think I like Samsara more, but there are some individual segments to Baraka that are just so good. The sequence with Dead Can Dance, host of the Seraphim, and that shot of all of those warplanes, the airplane graveyard, and the oil fires. Yeah, there were some great moments to that one, indeed. Just visual poetry. 15 is Leviathan. It's a sci-fi horror movie. I found this year I have a real soft spot for like late 80s, early 90s sci-fi horror slash movies like that. And no, it's not the most perfect movie ever, but I like Peter Weller. I liked the style, the setting. It was really fun. I had such a good time, and ultimately that's what matters, Screamers was another one I watched as well that almost made the list. It just got edged out. Not all of them were great, though. I didn't really care for Life Force, But Leviathan was really fun. Of course, quite similar to The Abyss, which is one of my favorite movies. And now I need to see Deep Star 6, because that was like the trio of underwater sci-fi horror movies that came out around the same time. Then 14 is Rosemary's Baby, one that I'd been eager to watch for a while, just finally got around to it. It's unfortunate we'll never know who directed this movie. I mean, whoever they were, they did a good job. It's too bad we don't know, you know? But yeah, it's really good. It's the ultimate horror of having nosy neighbors who won't let an introvert just be at peace. And it was very well done. I loved the dream sequences in it. Just, again, all around a great thriller movie. Definitely a classic. Number 13 is Thief, directed by Michael Mann, his first movie. I went on kind of a binge of Michael Mann's 80s and 90s movies, though I still have to rewatch The Insider. I watched it a long time ago. I haven't seen it in quite a while. But Thief, this one really blew me away. It was so well shot, and I was super into the story. Kind of funny how, like, this was Michael Mann's first film, and I feel like he's almost just been remaking this one his whole career. He's got a very similar style to it. Manhunter, of course, was another good one, which I had already seen, but it was nice to revisit that one. Heat, of course, it's like one of the best movies ever. And The Keep was a very strange one. I do appreciate its style and how weird it was. It's definitely got cult classic status on it, but not a personal favorite. But The Thief was really good. Great soundtrack, great shootouts, great action, just all around. Great movie. Number 12 is Conan the Barbarian. Also had never seen this one, but I was really blown away by how much I liked it. You know, just the production design, the setting, the way it was shot. I feel like lately I'm just a real big sucker for a movie that can just get me, like, super into its style and design. I'm in the zone with this one, you know? I'm just, like, focused and locked in. I'm not as particular about plot and story. I'm there for the vibes. And this one really gets it, you know? Arnold absolutely shining. I have not yet watched the sequel, Conan the Destroyer. Heard it wasn't as good, but, you know, this one was awesome indeed. Number 11 is a movie famously proclaimed to be one of the scariest movies ever, The Vanishing. I just kind of watched it early morning one time, randomly at a whim, and, yeah, it's pretty damn good, that's for sure. Not overly in your face scary, but just, like, conceptually haunting, you know? And honestly, I feel it's one of those ones where the less you know going in, the better. But you're not going to have a good time. You know, you're here for a bad time, not a long time, right? But yeah, really, really love this one. It's kind of funny. I end up seeing a lot of really, really good movies that were new to me this year. Like, a movie like this could have been my number one any other year, but it's not even cracked the top 10 because I've just got so many good options. And number 10 is another claustrophobic horror thriller, The Descent. Basically one that had been recommended, hey, if you love Alien, you love claustrophobic thrillers, you'll love this one. And yeah, basically they were right. It's a very straightforward, simple movie. One that I probably chalked up to being like part of the mid-2000s schlop that was lots of horror. But this one's got some pretty good artistry to it, and I guess it definitely understood that less is more. You know, you don't have to think too much about the who, what, when, where, and why. You're in these caves and you're stuck. But in a way, it's also kind of chill. It's very zen. Like, there's the Silent Hill-esque soundtrack, and yeah, again, I just really love this one. Not sure which ending I prefer, though. This is spoilers for a 20-year-old movie, by the way. There's the one ending where she makes it out, and the other ending where it turns out it was all just a dream, and she doesn't. I honestly think I prefer the she makes it out ending, because it seemed to me like there was so much of a triumphant ending that she needed that happy ending, you know? Don't get me wrong, I like dark endings. I've got The Vanishing and Rosemary's Baby on my list here. But I don't know. I just felt like would Alien have been as good of a movie if the alien had, like, shown up, bit Ripley's head off, and then started talking to Earth in her voice? I don't know. Sometimes I think a happy ending is warranted. I feel like The Descent had it warranted there, but I guess it wasn't technically the original vision though. So what do I know, right? And number 9 is Fargo, and again another 1996 movie, and yeah, this one is fun. I mean, again, I'm Canadian, and Minnesota is pretty close to Canada, so I can appreciate the accents. Oh gee, oh geez, oh gee, bud, oh for sure, oh yeah. You know, I'm not sure I agree with your police work there, Lou. And yeah, so the accents are great, the writing's great. I feel like I'm finally getting into Coen Brothers a little more, because there was a few others I really loved, of course, like Big Lebowski and No Country for Old Men. But some of the earlier works, I think I'm finally getting into them. So yeah, definitely loved this one a lot. Number 8 is Fantasia, the Disney animated movie that is basically just musical animated jazz. You know, it's the animators just coming up with images to go along with the music. And I watched this on VHS, and yeah, again, another one I kind of always had a feeling I would love it because I'd seen like individual segments from it before, but never like sat down and watched the whole thing. And again, it was just like a vibe. It was just so well done and thought out, and just so inventive in its animation and its style. And there's really never been anything like it. You know, they tried again with Fantasia 2000, and I did enjoy that one, but that one was definitely like for kids. This one wasn't about just being for kids, you know. While I may love some of the segments in Fantasia 2000, like the whales, the flying whales, of course, and the Firebird segment, almost makes me tear up every time. But this one though, this is where it's at, man. Indeed, such a masterpiece indeed. Number 7 is Paris, Texas, a movie I had always heard much about being a really great one, and it definitely is. It's a very slow burn, methodical movie, but again, it's just one of those ones where like I'm in the zone and I'm hooked, and they could take as long as they want with this one, and I'll be into it. And Harry Dean Stanton is great in it. I love the sequences, and the way it was shot is just so beautiful. Definitely one I think I'll watch again at some point. You know, I was very close to giving it 5 stars, this one, but sometimes it feels weird to give it 5 stars on the first watch. You know, you gotta earn that ranking. Indeed. Number 6 is The Bridge on the River Kwai. Again, another movie I was really surprised I hadn't seen yet. I played Medal of Honor Rising Sun, that has the level that's a reference to this, and I knew already about the ending. Just hadn't actually sat down to watch the damn thing. But it's directed by David Lean, and of course he made Lawrence of Arabia, so I knew I was in good hands with this one, indeed. Yeah, that's another great one, obviously. Number 5 was Network. Kind of a movie I just watched on a whim, just sort of randomly, like, hey, it's a classic, let's watch it. But again, very surprised how well this one holds up. How, of course, you know, it's still relevant. You know, it's aged very well. Very darkly comedic in a way. And again, definitely one I think I should watch again at some point. These are the ones where they're almost 5 stars. They're really in consideration. You know, these are the contenders indeed. Again, 1976 was also a pretty stacked year. I couldn't put Taxi Driver on here because I had seen that already, but rewatching, I did really like that one a lot too. Number 4 is Day of the Dead, George A. Romero zombie movie. So I watched all 3 of the classic ones, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Night of the Living Dead. And, you know, they're always been regarded as like classics, but it's really great when you watch a classic movie and it holds up perfectly and you just love it, everything about it. That's great. And pretty much all 3 of those movies were that way. I loved that sort of, you know, black and white lo-fi horror to the first Night of the Living Dead. And, I loved the kind of comedic and excess and style of Dawn of the Dead. But for me, A Day of the Dead, which was actually the one I watched first, was the main one that I was just in love with everything about it. But again, I knew I would because I love 28 Days Later, and I always joked that that was all three George Romero zombie movies rolled into one, with the third act to the movie being Day of the Dead. The characters are stuck in a military base with a very strained relationship with the military commander. So basically, they were like, hey, what if we just, what if that last segment to 28 Days Later was its whole own movie? And kind of funny that it didn't do very well, but like it was so good and intense. I loved the acting to it. The effects were just so gross. Chokana. Yeah, that's great. Absolutely wonderful movie. Number 3, well, we talked about Fargo. Number 3 is The Hudsucker Proxy. I watched this one super early in the year because it is a New Year's movie, and I was just instantly head over heels with it. I can't believe nobody recommended this movie to me before, because I love Terry Gilliam movies like Adventures of Baron Munchausen and Brazil and Time Bandits, and this one definitely has that similar style to it of like, the 50s architecture and the quirkiness to it. But I guess it's not a really well-regarded movie, but I don't know, man. I think it's hilarious. I think it's so good. Everyone is so fantastic in the movie, and it's now one of my all-time favorites. It's so good, indeed. Number 2 was a movie that I just had the absolute blast of my life with watching, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. This, to me, was like, to the 80s, is Everything Everywhere All at Once to the 2000s. Just a movie that's like packed to the brim with just moment and joke and crazy thing, one after another. It's just such a fun ride. Yes, I was high while I watched it. That probably had something to do with it, but then I watched it like literally a day later and I wasn't, and I still loved it. So that can't just be the only reason. And again, apparently I've got a thing for Peter Weller. Yeah, I'd always known about this movie because it was referenced, of course, in Ready Player One. But yeah, was just everything about this movie is great. There's not a single wasted moment. But we never found out, why was there a watermelon there? What's the deal with the watermelon? I'll tell you later. Yeah, so just if you want the funnest time of your life, that's what this movie is. I love movies that just have fun, imaginative innovation to them. But, of course, we've got number 1, and I kind of flopped between number 1 and number 2 for a while. I didn't know which should we give it to. But ultimately there was only one answer, and of course that was Crash, David Cronenberg movie. I had known about this one for a very long time, and I didn't know if the concept appealed to me. I mean, people that get aroused from car crashes, David Cronenberg, my man, I know you're good at making stuff look sexy that shouldn't, but maybe you took it a little too far this time. But no, I watched this movie and somehow I just became totally enamored with it. I don't plan on crashing any cars anytime soon. And I think I watched this movie like 2 more times right away. Like I watched it and then I almost immediately watched it again. And then like 2 weeks later I watched it and I was listening to the soundtrack. There's just something so alluring and captivating about it. Not just because it's sexy. And then it was so good that it got me listening to Charlie XCX because I didn't understand why people were associating it. And then I found out, well, she made an album called Crash that is very inspired by this movie. And so like I listened to that album a lot, and then I actually found out I like Charlie XCX. I do like Green Eggs and Ham. So I guess this means my metalhead card has been revoked because I like some modern pop music. But yeah, honestly, I'm probably gonna watch this movie again now afterwards. I really can't put my finger on it, man. There's just something about it that's just so alluring and enticing. Kind of like Eyes Wide Shut in a way. You know, you don't really know, or Clockwork Orange. You don't really know what you love about those movies. You know that you love them, and that's just how it is. So I didn't have to think about it too much. I just knew the top two was going to be Crash and Buckaroo Banzai, and it was just a matter of, do we go with the weird, experimental one, or the fun, adventurous one? I don't know, man. But yeah, in any case, those are my top movies of the year that were not released. Now we can get on to the main event, that is the top 25 movies from 2025 that I saw ranked in some semblance of an order. And again, these are every movie that I watched in 2025 that was a new release. So if you don't see that movie on here, then, maybe by the time the Oscars come around, I'll get around to it. Marty Supreme is the big one that everyone's hyping right now. Still haven't seen it. There's a couple of awards contenders, like, what is it, Novella Nuevo Blue or something. There was Richard Linklater made that movie. It's about Jean-Luc Godard and making Breathless. So I should probably watch Breathless first. There's a few on there, so we're going to go through it, and who knows, maybe my ranking will change. Let's get into it then. So, at the bottom of the list, number 25, man, what a sophomore slump for Celine Song. It's The Materialists, or just Materialists. I really wanted to like this movie because I thought it presented itself as some generic romance schlock and that there was going to be more to it, and ultimately there wasn't really much I got out of it. I think it was clever casting to have Pedro Pascal in the movie because, everyone was so quick to fall head over heels with him, they ignored all the obvious signs that he ain't that really great of a guy. So much to the point that even though the movie makes it very clear why he's not a good choice, people are still saying the movie is broke boy propaganda. So that was clever casting, but yeah, ultimately I just didn't dig it. I wasn't into it, didn't get much. This movie felt like it had 5 different endings, more so than Return of the King. I just was not into it at all, unfortunately. But I did want to like it. But alas, no. Number 24 is Honey, Don't. We talked earlier about how much we loved Coen Brothers, right? Well, now they're off doing their own thing, and to varying degrees of success. I watched Drive Away Dolls as well this year, and that was a fun movie. It was entertaining, but that movie seemed like it all came together in the end to have a fun little quirky adventure. Honey, Don't just kind of felt random. Like, one of those things where you look back at it and just kind of, was it really all that worth it? I don't know. I didn't really think so. So, more like, honey, don't watch this movie. Number 23 is probably going to be the most controversial pick on my list, and that is Weapons. I did not really dig this movie, and everyone was really hyping it up, that it was so amazing and a revitalization of the horror genre, but kind of much like Zach Cregger's first movie, Barbarian, I felt it had a fun setup and some good ideas, but didn't really do much with them. Like, my favorite chunk of Barbarian was the beginning, where Bill Skarsgård is trying just to be a normal guy and not be creepy, and in doing so he is making himself more creepy. That was fun, especially because it is Bill Skarsgård. We all know him as Pennywise and a weirdo creepy guy. So that was just genius casting on their part, but then the rest of the movie afterwards I didn't care about, and the same kind of goes for Weapons. Fun setup, fun concepts, but ultimately I just wasn't really into it. And the most biggest points it had is just stuff I've seen in every horror movie. Like, what's the big shocking scene? A person gets their head bashed in. Never seen that before. What's the big creepy thing? An old, weird, creepy lady. Okay. I'll admit, the ending was fun. There were some nice moments to it. But, yeah, I just didn't really dig it. Sorry, guys. Wasn't really, I don't know. Every year, there's one horror movie that I love, and there's one horror movie that I don't like that everyone else loves. And this year, Weapons was that movie for me. So, Oh well. From here on out, it gets better. Number 22 is Companion. This one, just nice, simple, fun horror slash dark comedy movie. And again, I had a lot of fun with this one. I thought the style to it was great. It was very cleverly written. And, just all around, this is a fine movie, so I enjoyed it. Number 21 is Tron Ares. So I did not hate this movie. It was a fun time. I mean, again, I am a BC resident, so to see a movie that does such a good job of shooting Vancouver and, making it look slick, I really liked that. There was already a lot of that in Tron Legacy, which I really liked. And I'd been saying I want someone to shoot Vancouver like Michael Mann shoots LA, or Martin Scorsese shoots New York, So it was fun to see that finally happen and have it very distinctly like this is Vancouver. Like we're not trying to make it look like it's somewhere else. And of course the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack absolutely slept. Very, very fun soundtrack. Plot-wise, I mean, I also appreciate that they did something different because Tron Legacy, at its core, as much as I love it, it is a Legacy-sequel remake of the first Tron. All the plot points are quite the same, so it was fun to see, you get a little bit of that whole we've got to escape the grid in the middle, but then there were a lot of other elements to it, so I appreciate that. It's unfortunate the main actor had to be Jared Leto right at the height of all the controversy around us not liking him anymore. But, at least he's playing a weird, cold, emotionless, manipulated robot who's there purely to chase a woman. So I guess it was par for the course for casting. So yeah, I didn't hate this one. I enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with it. I'll probably watch it again, but at the end of the day, at least I got a pretty sick Nine Inch Nails album to go along with it. And then number 20 is Ash. This was just a pretty simple little sci-fi movie. I saw it was streaming and I watched it. And again, I mentioned earlier, I'm a sucker for those late 80s, early 90s sci-fi horror movies, just with fun production value and vibes. And that's what this movie had. Very, very straightforward plot, but it looked straight out of Dead Space and Callisto Protocol. So, of course, that's going to get good vibes from me. Yes, I am admitting I'm absolutely biased, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not trying to be some kind of objective critic in the name of true good and evil. I'm just simply saying I watched the movie, and it looked very pretty, and it sounded pretty, and I liked it. Probably won't ever watch it again, but I had a good time. What else more can I say? Number 19 is Wake Up Dead Man, the Benoit Blanc mystery. Right, the third in the movies that began with Knives Out that has still been called a Knives Out mystery, even though it has nothing to do with Knives Out. I guess it would just sound punchy. I've never really been in love with any of the Knives Out movies. It's kind of how I feel about the Kenneth Branagh, Agatha Christie adaptations. It's just kind of like, this is a movie and it looks nice, and there's fun characters, there's a fun little mystery, and I didn't get it, and the twist happened, and I was surprised. Haha, you got me. Just nice, simple, good little fun. But I do think this was probably the best out of the ones so far. Definitely the one I was the most into and invested in. Perhaps a little long of a movie. I mean, I was impressed by how well this 2.5-hour movie flowed. Like, Benoit Blanc doesn't really show up until 40 minutes in to his own movie. But that time actually flew quite fast. So, that's good. Good when a long movie flows pretty well and you don't realize how much time you spent in it. So yeah, some people really love these movies. If you do, that's great. It's never been a personal favorite for me, but I gotta recognize that I had a good time. Number 18 is Ballerina from the World of John Wick, featuring John Wick. It's with Ana de Armas as the main one. And, again, this is probably the weakest of the movies in the John Wick franchise, but there's still a lot of fun action to it. I liked that it had its own style in that, watching this movie, there's a lot more of a of an emphasis on the physicality of, like, using random objects as weapons. John Wick always has a moment like that in his movies where he uses a playing card, or, a pencil or a pen, some kind of random household object to get a kill. But there's a lot more of an emphasis on this in Ballerina due to Ana de Armas's fighting style, so I liked that. I think it was fun that she's basically hanging out in a small little random town, like being hunted, like it's Resident Evil. That was fun. I like the style to it. The soundtrack's great. And this is basically the Black Widow movie that I never got, because I really despised the style of the Black Widow movie. It was everything I didn't want it to be. So this fills the gap for me in that way, and again, I had fun with it. This was a good one. Again, it's weaker than all the other John Wick movies, but it's pretty much exactly what I wanted it to be. That's nice. Number 17, K-pop Demon Hunters, the biggest movie of the year, am I right? I'd been knowing that I would need to watch this eventually, and I was kind of dreading it a bit because, sometimes I can be allergic to trends, with how much the movie was getting, talked about ad nauseum. But it ended up actually being a fun movie. Funny enough, I think somehow the internet both oversold and undersold this movie. Everyone was talking about, oh, the music is so good, don't you love Soda Pop, isn't it like the greatest song ever? Nobody really talked about how it's a great story with, like, an emotional investment in its characters, and generational trauma, of course, is always a good one to get my attention for a story, and it's got that sisterhood bond to it. So funny enough, the worst part of the movie was the part where it had to be a K-pop movie. The best part of the movie was the part where it had to be about the story and the trauma that no one really talked to me about. Go figure, me being contrarian. I liked the Huntrix songs a lot. Did not care for the Saja Boys songs, though, which is funny that they're meant to be, like, super catchy and hooking everybody over, and it's even won the world over. But it did not for me. So it's a pretty good one. I enjoyed it. Very fun indeed. Number 16 is F1. We talked about car movies earlier, right? Well, yeah, F1 is fun. You can put that on the poster. Yeah, I mean, it's Joseph Kosinski. I loved Top Gun Maverick. I love the style to this one. I'm definitely going to be watching it again. I just have to convince other people to watch it with me so I can get them to see it. It was a very fun movie. I'm not super into cars and racing, but, the car goes, and the camera goes, and the Hans Zimmer soundtrack goes, and I'm like, okay, I'm locked in, right? So, yeah, what more can I say to that? It's a fun movie indeed, and most people have kind of recognized, like, yeah, that's a pretty good one. Number 15, we're also talking about, action movies, big blockbuster movies, right? And we talked about Top Gun Maverick. Well, now we've got Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. We'll see, right? I mean, how many times has a franchise entry had the word final in the title and actually been the final one? I did enjoy the movie overall. I mean, that first hour was kind of weak. It was a lot of setting everything up and getting ready to go, and this movie probably didn't need to be 3 hours. But when you get down to it, you got the submarine sequence and the biplane sequence, and those are two pretty awesome moments, and that's really what you're there for. You're there for the big moments, so it nailed it on that. Could this have been condensed down a bit? Yes. But was I glad that we did finally get a impossible mission in this movie? Oh, absolutely. That was the thing I felt was sorely lacking from Dead Reckoning Part 1. So I appreciate that this one, lived up to it, to that impossible mission, right? We did get that. So overall, in the end, it is a good movie. But I can't rate it any higher because it's a bit of a mixed bag in some parts. But the end's solid. That's the trick. And, you can take a drink every time this movie reminds you of Metal Gear Solid. That'll be fun, indeed. Number 14, perhaps another controversial pick, is 28 Years Later. Definitely a movie that benefited from a second viewing because the first viewing you're kind of thinking, okay, is the movie going to go here or here? And, you're along for the ride. The second time you're allowed to be a bit more, okay, I know where you're taking me, now take me there. I loved the style to it, the setting, everything was pretty awesome and interesting. We got more Godspeed You Black Emperor in it, that's great. The only thing I wasn't a fan of was some of the digital effects on like the nighttime scenes, like when they're running across the water bridge. It looked pretty bad. But overall it was another fun zombie experience. I'm excited to see where we go here with the Bone Temple. And again, they managed to give us a movie that was like a lot of unexpected twists and turns rolled into one, which is really what the first 28 Days Later was. So I'm glad we got to see a lot more of that. Here's looking forward to seeing what we get next with Bone Temple. And I'm sorry, Weapons, but this movie had the best hilarious out of nowhere ending of the year. Number 13 is Sentimental Value. Now, I have a feeling if I were to remake this list, that this one would get bumped up a lot higher, because the first watch was really good and I was into it, but it's always a good sign when the more you think about a movie, the more you like it, the more you want to go back and check it out again. It's a grower, not a shower. It's never a good sign when the more you think about a movie, the worse it gets. So I had a feeling that this one will get bumped up in the future, and it's ending up on a lot of people's favorites lists. It's a drama, it's about family, it's about generational trauma. Again, we said that's always a good, easy win for me. Just, it's a plot point that seems to always work and get you in the feels. So yeah, if this is a big contender at the awards season, I'm totally okay with that. Number 12 is Sinners, perhaps a movie you might be expecting to see higher on the list, and it is one I do plan on rewatching, so perhaps it could jump up a bit more, but I go by my first impression of the movie, and overall I thought it was a really, really good movie, but I couldn't really rate it any higher. I had a few small little qualms about it. I felt once the big action broke out that the movie just wasn't as interesting as its setup. I do really like the style and the look to the movie. It's got, without spoiling, one of my least favorite uses of a character magically appearing behind another character in a way that would make no physical possibility of sense. And I really, really did not like how the end of this movie is a post-credit scene, because it's not a post-credit scene, it's just literally the end to the movie, but they've put half of the credits in the middle. I don't really understand what the design choice behind that was. So yeah, really the only reason Sinners isn't ranked any higher is because the other 11 movies exist. It's not a matter of 12 means it's bad, it's a matter of just I enjoyed 11 films more. But I do want to rewatch it, so who knows, we could bump it up. And I love the style to it, it's awesome. If this is your favorite movie of the year, then oh, absolutely, go ahead, put it as your number one. I'm not going to argue with you on that. You go, girl, It's just from personal opinion, just, like I said, there's the horror movie that everybody loves and I agree with. That's Sinners, and there's the horror movie that everybody loves and I don't agree with. That's Weapons. Number 11 is Blue Moon. Well, we talked about how Richard Linklater has the other movie that came out this year that I haven't seen, and Blue Moon is the one that I have seen, and I loved it. It was Ethan Hawke doing a very snappy, quippy, annoyed, but also secretly depressed, sad monologue for 2 hours. So, why wouldn't I want to watch that? I just was laughing and also not crying, but, in the feels, because I knew the laughter was a defense mechanism with this guy, right? But mainly I just love his making fun of stuff with an exclamation point. Oklahoma exclamation point. You always gotta have that in there. The only exclamation point I accept is Godspeed You, Black Emperor. So yeah, that's a real fun drama. I mean, hey, if Ethan Hawke gets an Oscar for it finally, absolutely. Damn straight, kid. I gotta watch Richard Linklater's other movie. It was a good year for directors with multiple movies. Richard Linklater, Steven Soderbergh, Dan Trachtenberg. Yeah. I have not seen either of the Predator movies, though. The Killer of Killers and Badlands. Just didn't get around to them yet. But, we got sentimental value. Elle Fanning was in that. That's pretty good. Okay. Top 10. Number 10 is Begonia. Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. This is, of course, absolutely a movie made for me, and I do really like it a lot, and it is very fun. I like how there is more to the movie than just simply trying to guess the twist. That was my biggest worry with the movie, right? Big question is Emma Stone an alien, right? Well, what's really great about the movie is it's not just simply about, oh, I bet she actually is an alien. I think I guessed the twist. I'm so clever. Or, oh, the twist is that she'll make us think she was an alien, but she actually wasn't really. There's a lot more to it than that. If you go into that mindset of just simply thinking this is a movie where you gotta guess the twist, you're gonna have a bad time. Much more nuanced than that. And, of course, I love when Yorgos Lanthimos has over-the-top dramatic score. I love his style. I loved Poor Things. I love Kinds of Kindness. If anything, the only thing I don't love about this movie is it just isn't as good as those other two, but that's not really fair to say. So, yeah, let's bring on some more weirdness. I don't know if this is going to be an awards contender, but it'd be pretty cool if it was. I'd appreciate that. Number 9, I think this is the most recent one I watched, squeaked in right before the end of the year, was If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. So Eraserhead, for men, is like the movie that makes you not want to become a dad, and this is the movie for women that makes you not want to become a mother. It's part of that genre of anxiety-inducing cinema, which for some reason I actually really love. I'm not really sure why, but I like movies where it's like, oh my gosh, this character is screwed. I bet they can't get any more screwed. Next scene happens. Oh my gosh. Like After Hours. After Hours I watched, I think, like a year or two ago. And I rewatched it this year and I loved it even more. But again, I couldn't put it on here. But if I could, I would. After Hours is great. Definitely amazing, solid Marty movie. So this one's great. Rose Byrne, fantastic. I love the style and the way it's shot, because the whole thing is we never see the daughter's face because we're looking at it from the mom's perspective, and she's not actually seeing her daughter. She's just seeing, like, as a person. She's seeing her as a bunch of symptoms and things to take care of. So yeah, just a fun style to it. I don't know, for some reason I got some Darren Aronofsky vibes in a way. Yeah, it's fun. Very fun. Hilarious that it's entered for Best Comedy. And speaking of Darren Aronofsky, we have the next Darren Aronofsky movie, Caught Stealing, which was also a very fun, anxiety-inducing movie. It was perhaps a little more of a darker, twisted movie than I was anticipating, but then I remembered, oh, it's Darren Aronofsky, so of course it's going to be that way. So perhaps it wasn't less fun and raunchy as I thought, but was still fun and raunchy, but also gave me the Darren Aronofsky anxiety-inducing vibes. It's funny, I talked about how a couple years ago it felt every director was making a movie that was their most. Oppenheimer was the most Christopher Nolan, and The Boy and the Heron was the most Hayao Miyazaki. Now I'm feeling that, like, the directors are making the movie that is all of their movies wrapped up into one, and that's what Caught Stealing felt like. We're finally back in New York, and Darren Aronofsky's doing like a very short, claustrophobic thriller, and we got a guy on the run and people are chasing him, right? And there's some rabbis that are after him, hunting him, right? That's like straight out of Pi, right? The original Darren Aronofsky movie. Definitely reminded me of Pi in many ways. So yeah, I had fun with this one. Looking forward to watching it again, as I do with most Darren Aronofsky movies, because he's one of my favorite directors. Number 7, a movie I watched quite early in the year, but I've still stuck around remembering it. It's Mickey 17. I think some people didn't like that the movie was a little too on the nose with some of its politics and style, but I mean, it just seemed like it was comedically over the top. And again, I love a good sci-fi, and I love some comedy. I love Robert Pattinson. So, yeah, what can I say? Again, I think in my review I said it's a movie made for me. And so you made a movie for me and I liked it. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think so. But, on the topic of making a movie for me, it gets you points, but it only gets you so far, right? So that's why number 6 is Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So I am a little conflicted about this movie. I mean, obviously I've placed it quite high, number 6, 4.5 stars, right? But I was thinking about, it's a great adaptation. I really wanted to see Guillermo del Toro make a Frankenstein movie. He got to make it. Looks and sounds great. Everything about it is fantastic. It inspired me to go back to one of my music songs that I had written about Frankenstein 15 years ago and finally finish it and publish it on my music channel, The Synthetic Overlords. But yet, I also couldn't help feel that this was like Guillermo del Toro going for the low-hanging fruit. A movie like, Blue Moon or Sinners, Begonia, maybe not Begonia, but If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. These are movies that are good and I liked them and I didn't know what to expect. And so I liked them because it was unexpectedly good. I've got a few others on the list, or we talked about other movies. Buckaroo Banzai, Crash. A movie that I didn't expect to think are the best thing ever, but I did. And that's a little more rewarding to find a, unknown gem and find out how much you love it, as opposed to a director I love remaking a classic story and doing it justice in every way I figured he would. It was kind of the same way I felt about Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, yeah, it's good, and yeah, I love it. Of course I love it, but, it was the safe way to get me to love something, And now I hear Guillermo del Toro wants to do Phantom of the Opera, and again, I'm probably going to love that. It's great. But I was thinking with del Toro, he hasn't done a fully original movie in quite a long time, because this is an adaptation. Pinocchio, adaptation. Nightmare Alley, as much as I love it, it's a remake. Shape of Water is basically his Creature from the Black Lagoon fanfiction. So that leaves Crimson Peak as his most original movie, and that was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now. So, yeah, that's the only thing. I do love it, but there's just part of that brain I can't really ignore. But I'll still take the win. It's still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I really, really love it indeed. But we're going to give the next spot to a movie that just came out of nowhere and surprised me with how good it was, and that is Train Dreams, a movie I saw was getting many good recommendations. So I just flipped it on, clicked it on, let's watch this movie, and damn, was it good. I mean, again, Pacific Northwest vibes, lumberjacks, trees, forests, beautifully shot, on location. Oh, absolutely, that's a good way to win me over, but in an unexpected way. And the whole time I was thinking, man, if we took like some good Cascadian black metal, like Alda, Agalloch, we could sync it up to this movie, Dark Side of the Rainbow style, and I'm sure that'd be pretty good indeed. So yeah, and Joel Edgerton was great in the movie, and as many have said, of course, it gives me very much Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford vibes. Some people really don't like the narrator in this movie. I don't know. I liked the style to the narration. It reminded me very much of kind of Barry Lyndon, where the narrator's kind of spoiling stuff for you before it happens, and you're kind of preparing yourself for what happens next. I don't know. I liked the style to the narration. I think it added to the movie, but some people really weren't on board with it. So I guess that'll depend on how much you can enjoy. We need a narratorless cut of the film. So, yeah, that's a good one. I don't know how well it's going to do for the awards, but I'm hoping it does well. Number 4, again, another unexpected one for me, The Life of Chuck. Well, I was hoping I would like this one because it's Mike Flanagan adapting Stephen King, and it's got Tom Hiddleston in it, a great cast. And I thought this would just simply be like some coming of age story, but there's like a whole lot more going on in this movie than I anticipated. I know it's got a 2024 release date technically, but it didn't get a wide release until like the middle of this year. And again, I'm a normie. I can only see the movies when they come out on wide release, so it counts for now. In later years, it'll count as 2024. Don't ask me to make sense. Yeah, so again, I don't want to talk too much about this movie. It's kind of best to just go in and roll with it. You think you're going to get some like coming of age kid story about growing up and becoming a man, and there's a whole lot more to it going on. I really love that indeed. I was super into the movie the whole time, and I just loved it. I know it's probably going to get largely ignored because it's not a 2025 release, technically. You know, the awards ceremonies, they go by those metrics. But on my show, I don't. So it gets number 4 spot for me. Now, we talked about a movie, Ash, earlier, right? Well, now we have Fire and Ash. Avatar, Fire and Ash. So, perhaps my opinion might change in the future, but for me, this was my favorite Avatar of the bunch. Why is that? Well, you see, I like Avatar 1, but apart from Piranha 2, it's probably the weakest James Cameron movie, you know, because I don't really care about the characters. It's just there to look pretty and have a fun world. And don't get me wrong, I like pretty worlds. I like vibes. It's got good vibes and good style to it, right? You know, at the end of the day, it's a movie about environmentalism that showcases it by having, you know, a alien riding a giant panther-like creature attacking a guy in a mech suit with a giant knife, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, Avatar's still good, but it's a weak James Cameron movie. I had preferred Way of Water because we got, well, water, whales, easy things for me to like, and a lot more into the characters and the dynamics. And I liked the way Way of Water made me excited for more. Avatar didn't really inspire me to think about what more they could be. Just simply like, it's the movie and it's cut and dry and it works on its own. You know, you don't really need any more. And that's why I find usually I'm a sucker for the sequels in lots of franchises, right? Because the original simply works as its own little piece. It doesn't need any companions, but it doesn't really inspire me to think more, because it was designed to be an individual film. Whereas when they go and make that second film, that's the one that starts getting me thinking, oh, I can't wait to see more from this. Oh, I want to see more of this area. Oh, I hope in the sequel we get to explore that environment, right? Way of Water set that up nicely for me. And does that mean it doesn't work as its own film? Well, it doesn't need to. It's an entry in a franchise now, not the start of one. So Avatar Fire and Ash now took the things that I was hoping to see in Way of Water, showed me more of those, and it inspired me even more. Now I'm even more excited to see the rest of the franchise. And I mean, well, you know, we got our goth baddie Varang, you know. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, you know. James Cameron knew what he was doing with that scene in the tent. Oh, he knew. Is it just me, or I'm getting a little thirsty right now? And then the other thing people complained about was, oh, well, there's too many moments that are similar to the previous movies. And I thought about it, I'm like, well, the thing is, I look at a lot of my favorite sequels, and they do that too. You know, Return of the Jedi, it's got so many bits from the first 2 Star Wars movies, and that doesn't bother me, that there's just another Death Star. It never did. It was just simply how it was. And Return of the King is my favorite Lord of the Rings movie, and so much of the basic plot of that is very similar to Two Towers. I mean, it has to be. It's based off of the book, but, like, what's the main plot of Return of the King? They gotta defend a big tower against the side of a mountain from a giant army. That's what they did in Two Towers. So, looking back at it, I'm like, well, a lot of my favorite franchises, they end up coming around to a formula and a style, right? And Aliens is just a carbon copy of the first Alien, but it's action instead of horror, right? And it's all the same plot points. So I thought, well, it seems like that isn't really a thing that bothers me too much. So I was kind of okay with Avatar Fire and Ash having a lot of similar moments to the previous ones. If anything, it only made me think perhaps they wish that they hadn't done certain moments. Like, I won't spoil it, but like there's a big moment near the end of Fire and Ash that is very, very heavily comparable to a big moment from the end of the first Avatar. And again, I honestly think perhaps they just realized, like, ooh, shoot, we shouldn't have done that in the first movie. We should have saved that for this one, but in a way, like with the Death Star. We shouldn't have put the Death Star in A New Hope. We should have saved that as the big threat for Return of the Jedi. But we already did it, so let's just do it again. Why not, right? So, it's got a 5-star rating from me. But that's because I do my ratings like a little more in terms of the movie. So, like, I gave Avatar a 4, and I liked Way of Water more. So now it gets 4.5. And I liked Fire and Ash more than Way of Water, so it gets a 5. But it doesn't get a 5 and a heart. I changed the way I use the hearts on Letterboxd. I use the heart now to kind of represent the mythical 6-star rating. So like Terminator 2, another James Cameron movie, that's 5 stars, but it's also got a heart. Right? I reorganized that, but again, it's my Letterboxd. I can do what I want. That's the way I'm organizing it. So you'll see my next 2 movies do not have 5-star ratings, but they're rated higher because that's not what it's about, right? That makes sense? It made sense to me. The point is, I loved Avatar Fire and Ash. Can't wait to watch it again. I like that it's all a lot more about the characters as well. That's the other thing. There's a lot more character dynamic, more so than the first movie, so I'm down to see more of wherever that's gonna go. Hopefully somewhere good. And lastly, we have our final 2 movies, both of which are actually quite similar in terms of their style and what they represent. I guess I just was feeling a certain vibe this year. They're both movies that I only gave 4.5 stars to, but I feel like in a way, now that I've redone my ratings, I could conceivably give them 5 stars for how much I was just totally hooked. Neither of them are straightforward comedies, but there's a lot of dark humor to them, and they're both wickedly entertaining despite their dark subject matter. Now, one of them you probably already know, but the first one we've got to talk about is Eddington. Ari Aster, new movie, kind of a dark comedy, political thriller, 2020s COVID pandemic time capsule. Takes place right in the middle of the pandemic, in a small little border town, and just about all the politics and everything that's going on. But what I loved about this movie, this may be something people have said before, but this movie and the next movie, they both, to some elements, felt like live-action South Park, in that we're taking like something that was a thing that happened and was quite serious, and we're to an extent presenting it as is, but also kind of like bumping up some moments a little bit for a comedic effect, That was how I felt about Eddington, and I was like laughing through so much of it, also terrified in some moments. It was just such a great movie indeed, and of course Ari Aster had to have all of his signatures, dead animals, head trauma, people being lit on fire, all of these things were there, and that is good. I appreciate that. What can I say? Like, it's at the top of my list because I just had the most fun with it and entertaining time from it. It's probably not going to win any awards or get any recognition, but it was just simply straightforward and awesome. It almost made me want to go back and reevaluate Beau is Afraid, but then I was reminded that that movie's 3 hours long and doesn't need to be, so maybe we'll go back to that one day. But yeah, this was an easy one to be near the top of my list, and I gotta give it recognition. But of course, my number one's gonna be quite predictable because it is either number one or at least making an appearance on almost everybody's lists. And again, I think it's great too. The only reason I don't have this next one at 5 stars is, again, because I feel a little weird to give a movie 5 stars right away unless there's a reason, like perhaps it's my favorite entry in a franchise. But if I watch it again, I'll probably bump it up to 5 stars. And also, this director just has so many other good movies. Let's stop wasting your time. You know what it is. It's one battle after another. I mean, I was set to love this movie. Everybody else was. We all watched it. We all loved it. And yeah, definitely, I think it's. I kind of thought about it. Is it my favorite of the year? Well, yeah, it kind of is. It's dark, but it's comedic. It's political, but it's funny. It's got some action to it. It's so well shot and well acted. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. This is probably the best one he's done since There Will Be Blood. I mean, I actually really loved Inherent Vice, though. So yeah, the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because I'm like, well, There Will Be Blood's 5 stars. Punch Drunk Love is 5 stars. Inherent Vice is 4.5. So I'm like, I guess it might be kind of in that range. Sometimes I like to hold back a bit, give it a little room to grow. If I had any critique for One Battle After Another, it's, without spoiling, I felt the third and the final act to the film, I feel like it was a little long and kind of a little convoluted. But that doesn't necessarily ruin it. What I mean is, the last segment to One Battle After Another very heavily reminded me of the end section to Blade Runner 2049, in that, so we're spoiling Blade Runner 2049 instead. Okay. So in that movie, right, we got Jared Leto, we got Wallace, he's got Harrison Ford. They're in his big pyramid all by their lonesomes, and he says, "All right, I gotta make you talk. So I'm gonna have 2 guys carry you in a car to a space shuttle, so you can go on the space shuttle to a whole other planet. And once you're there, then we'll make you talk." I'm like, what? We can't just do that here? In the pyramid? No? I feel like you're just setting this up so that he can get intercepted by Ryan Gosling and have him save him on the way, and that's exactly what happens, right? So there's kind of a little bit of the convolutedness, like character needs this to happen, so the character makes this decision. And then, but it leads to a sequence, like the fight at the end of Blade Runner 2049. Not like it's like the greatest fight scene ever or anything. Same with One Battle After Another. The car chase scene. It's not like it's the greatest car chase ever. It's shot in a very fun, unique way that just, again, gets you in the vibe. And that's what matters most. So yeah, but that's minor little nitpicky details if I have to think about something that I noticed a little more on the rewatch, perhaps, right? But I mean, everyone else has talked about the sequence of Leo leaving the house to climbing up the building with the constant piano, right? That's awesome. Just the whole movie's great. So it was an easy pick for number 1. Again, there's some other movies I have not seen yet, of course, so if I didn't talk about them here, you know that I didn't see them, so don't ask me what I thought. When we get to the Oscars, I will, of course, see what got nominated for all the big awards, and I'll do my best to watch those movies when they become available. Hopefully Wicked for Good does not get nominated for anything, so I don't have to watch it. I don't want to subject myself to another 2.5 hours of that not good looking movie. But yeah, that's my list. Viva la revolution. Why is that scene just so good? Anyway, there you go. My favorite new films and my favorite old films of the year. We got 2026 coming up. I had a couple more videos I was hoping to try to get out before New Year's so I could get a few more 2025 videos out, but I just got busy with holidays and family and work and schedules and all that. So there's another one I filmed it. I just haven't sat down to edit it because it's going to be over 2.5 hours long at the very least. But it was definitely a big video. I intended to be my big grand end of the year video. It was my top 100 albums video. That'll be edit it at some point. But this takes priority because everybody is so quick to put out their best of the year list videos even before the year is over, because those guys got to go see all the special screenings of movies and see them ahead of time so they could make their reviews. And I'm just a small little struggling artist trying to get my own humble little video out there again. So yeah, that's that indeed. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that. Let me know what your favorite films of the year were, or if you've seen any other good ones that weren't necessarily new releases but were new to you. Hope you all enjoyed that, and I'll catch you next time.